त्वमज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं तस्मै श्रीगुरवे Hare Krishna. We'll continue the discussion from Prabhupada's purport. There is one joke. One person was falling from a 110th floor of a building, and people at 70th floor, they were thinking, "Oh, nothing has happened yet. Everything is fine only." And this is actually the state of people. So far, nothing is wrong. So far, nothing. But because the remaining floors will come very quickly. Similarly, it is said that Parikshit Maharaj has 7 days. That means Acharyas explained that 7 days Parikshit remained to live are 7 days of a week. He will die either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. The choice is very small. We also have only 7 days option. Any of the day we will be leaving our body. But person must understand, due to the fitness of his existence, he must not find the final answer. He must be able to find the final answer now only. Because Upanishad says the fine is infinitely small, but has a potency to become infinitely large. That is the point. And here, Maharaj Parikshit, that he is he is have, of course, he is 60 years now. For him, it is very he was young and very healthy. Now when Maharaj Parikshit came onto the banks, here we'll see what is speciality of Sukadeva Goswami. This is a very nice way to understand about the different personalities. That is the most important thing. It is not just reading some shlokas. We have to understand the personalities, either Kunti or Bhishma, Parikshit, or your Sukadeva Goswami, or sage of Naimisharanya, Sonaka, and Sutta Goswami, Vyasa, Narada. We have Vidura, Dhritarashtra. So many personalities are there. If we are able to understand these personalities, that means we are understanding Bhagavatam very nicely. Because that is the main point of Bhagavatam. We need all Bhagavatas. Otherwise, there is no point only. We didn't understand. If we have understood the personality, then we have understood Bhagavatam. Because dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhaya mahajanoyana gatasya panta. What Yudhishthir Maharaj says, now Neksha asked this question, this is what he says. That this truth is actually very, very difficult to find the questions. And Rishi, he says, Tarko apratishto sutayo vibhinnam nasam rishiryasya matimna bhinnam dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhaya mahajanoyana gatasya panta. It is said that it is hidden, this truth is hidden very, very deeply in the bottomless heart of a holy man. He says the truth cannot be found by logic, because tarka is logic. With logic, tarko apratishto, nothing can be proven. This is what Lord Chaitanya's pastime as a Nimai Pandit also. He used to prove everything wrong. He used to make a statement, prove it wrong. Establish another statement, prove it wrong. Establish the third statement, prove it wrong. And establish the first statement as right. That means he's want to tell that this is too much. And to read all the scriptures and find the truth is very difficult. Even 18,000 verses of Bhagavatam is also difficult. And many times even Bhagavad Gita 700 verses also difficult. That means it is not possible for us to find, because like yesterday on devotee sent me a video where people were criticizing the commentary that is written about ISKCON Bhagavad Gita. But the point is, you cannot understand by your reading. That is the main thing. Dharmasya tattvam. He says, if you want to find the truth, only possible way is you have to see a saintly person. And now here the shlokas which are explaining next 2-3 shlokas, after 2-3 shlokas, the signs of a saintly person. By seeing these signs, we can know, okay, this person is saintly and I can hear from him and he can reveal me the truth. Now we'll see from the next few verses what are the signs of a saintly person. Before that, Parikshit Maharaj, he asked certain questions. He is first the sages, they are giving assurance. Okay, we shall all wait here until the foremost devotee of Lord Maharaj Parikshit returns to the supreme planet, which is completely free from all mundane contamination and all kinds of lamentation. Now, beyond Prabhupada is telling, beyond the limit of material creation, which is compared to a cloud in the sky, there is Paravyoma, the spiritual sky full of planets called Vaikuntha. Now, one very important, the quality of a saintly person, because some of you will drop. That's why before before you end, just know this: what is a quality of a saintly person? There are two important qualities that are mentioned, but one quality is, as soon as we meet a saintly person, the desire to sin, which aggravates our consciousness, cease to be a problem anymore. That is the first sign. That means normally what we feel a problem, when we come to a saintly person, that problem goes away, or at least for time being, it goes away. That is the first quality. When in his presence, we don't want to do any sin. This is one of the qualities. And second quality, I'll keep till 4-5 verses. When it comes, I'll explain. Very, very important quality. I'll explain that also, but first I'll just wanted to read the purpose. Now, such Vaikuntha planets are differently known as Purushottama Loka, Achyuta Loka, Trivikrama Loka, Rishikesha Loka, Keshava Loka, Aniruddha Loka, Madhava Loka, Pradyumna Loka, Sankarshan Loka, Sridhara Loka, Vasudeva Loka, Dokshida Loka, Bharata Loka, and many other millions of spiritual lokas within the personality of Godhead predominates. All the living entities, there are liberated souls with spiritual bodies as good as the body of the Lord. There is no metal contamination. Everything there is spiritual. Therefore, there is nothing objectively lamentable. They are full of transcendental bliss and without birth, death, old age, and disease. This is all you have heard many times. So I'll just last point I'll tell. But the sorry plight is that such great devotees leave our sight, and therefore there is every reason to be sorry. So when great devotees of Lord pass away, there is nothing to be lamented because devotee is destined to enter into the kingdom of God. But there is problem for us. As the Lord is rarely to be seen by our present eyes, so also the great devotees. The great rishis therefore correctly decided to remain on the spot until the last moment. And the next sloka says, all that was spoken by the great sages was very sweet to hear, full of meaning and appropriately presented as perfectly true. So after hearing them, Maharaj Parikshit desired to hear the activities of Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, congratulated the sages. Now everybody knows they are to hear, most of them knows they are to hear, but who can speak about the pastime of Lord? That is very important. Because to speak the Lord's Leela, one need to be in Samadhi. That means he should see the pastime and he is explaining direct live telecast. And one who is hearing, he should also enter into trance to understand what is speaking. That is actually the main thing here. Now, everybody is there, they know, yeah, we have to Ante Narayana Smriti. Many of them will knowing. There are Vyas Maharshi, there is Parashar Muni, there is Naraka. All these sages are sitting there. Not that they don't know, but they are feeling who is the most qualified to speak also. And then, and of course, some had different conclusions also. That's why Parikshit Maharaj said, the king said, O great sages, you have all very kindly assembled here, having come from all parts of the universe. You are all as good as the supreme knowledge personified, who reside in the planet above the three worlds, Satyaloka. Consequently, you are naturally inclined to do good to others, and but for this, you have no interest either in this life or next. Now, this is a nice purport. 6 kinds of bliss, namely wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and bliss, all originally the different attributes pertaining to the absolute personality of God. The living beings who are part and parcel, entitled entities of the Supreme Being have all these attributes partially up to the full strength of 78%. In the material world, these attributes up to 78% of Lord's attributes are covered by the material energy as the sun is covered by the clouds. The covered strength of the sun is very deep compared to the original glare, and similarly, the original color of the living beings, where such attributes become almost extreme. There are three planet systems, namely the lower worlds, the intermediate worlds, and the upper worlds. A human being on Earth are situated at the beginning of the intermediate world, but living beings like Brahma and his contemporaries live in the upper world, of which the topmost is Satyaloka. In Satyaloka, the inhabitants are fully cognizant of the Vedic wisdom, and thus the mystic cloud of material energy is cleared. Therefore, therefore they are known as Vedas personified. Such persons, being fully aware of knowledge, both mundane and transcendental, have no interest in either the mundane or transcendental worlds. They are practically desireless devotees. The mundane world, they have nothing to do achieve, and the transcendental world, they are full in themselves. Then why do they come to the mundane world? By the order of Lord, they descend to different planets as messiahs to deliver the fallen souls. On earth, they come down and do good to the people of the world in different circumstances under different climatic influences. They have nothing to do in this world save and except reclaiming the fallen souls rotting in the metal existence deluded by metallic energy. This is the purpose why this great soul comes. And then he says, O trustworthy Brahmanas, I now ask you about my immediate duty. Please, after proper deliberation, tell me of the unalloyed duty of everyone in all circumstances, specifically those who are just about to die. So these are the two questions of Parikshit Maharaj. Please remember, I will not ask you, but you can remember it is good. Person who is about to die and duties of a person in all circumstances. In this verse, king has placed two questions before the learned sages. The first question is, what is the duty of everyone in all circumstances? Second question is, what is the specific duty of one who is to die very shortly? Out of these two, the questions relating to the dying man is most important because everyone is a dying man, either very shortly or after 100 years. The duration of life is immaterial, but the duty of a dying man is very important. Maharaj Parikshit placed these two questions before Sukadeva Goswami also on his arrival, and practically the whole of Srimad Bhagavatam from the beginning of second canto up to the end of 12th canto deals with these two questions. The conclusion arrived at therefore is that devotional service of Lord Sri Krishna, as it is confirmed with Lord himself in the last phases of Bhagavad Gita, is the last word in relation to everyone's permanent duty in life. Maharaj Parikshit was already aware of this fact, but he wanted the great sages assembled there to unanimously give their verdict on his conviction so that he might be able to go on with his confirmed duty without controversy among the sages. He has especially mentioned the word Sudha, or perfectly correct, for transcendental realization or self-realization. Many processes are recommended by various classes of philosophers. Some of these methods are first class, some of them are second or third class. The first class method demands that one give up all other methods and surrender to the lotus feet of Lord and thus be saved from all sins and their reactions. So these two important questions, they are going to be answered for all. Now comes the main character of. At that moment, there appeared the powerful son of Vyasadeva, who traveled on the earth disinterested, satisfied with his own achievements. He did not manifest any symptoms of belonging to any social order or status of life. He was surrounded by women and children who dress as if others have neglected him. Now, this is very nice. These two shlokas, this is the topic of discussion today for some time. The word Bhagavan is sometimes used in relation with some of the great devotees of the Lord like Sukadeva Goswami. But liberated souls are disinterested in the affairs of this material world because they are self-satisfied by the great achievements of devotional service. As explained before, Sukadeva Goswami never accepted any formal spiritual master, nor did he undergo any formal reformatory performances. His father, Vyasadeva, was his natural spiritual master because Sukadeva Goswami heard Srimad Bhagavatam. After this, he became completely self-satisfied. Thus, he was not dependent on any formal process. The formal process are necessary for those who are expected to reach the stage of complete liberation. But Sukadeva Goswami was already in that status by the grace of his father. As a young boy, he was expected to be properly dressed, but he went about naked and was uninterested in social customs. He was neglected by the general populace, and inquisitive boys and women surrounded him as if he were a madman. He thus appeared on the scene while traveling on the earth of his own accord. It appeared that upon the inquiry of Maharaj Parikshit, the great sages were not unanimous in their decisions as to what was to be done. For spiritual salvation, there are many prescriptions according to different modes of different persons. But the ultimate aim of life is to attain the highest perfectional stage of devotional service to the Lord. As doctors differ, so also sages differ in different prescriptions. While such different things are going on, the great and powerful Son of Vyasadeva appeared on the scene. So here, the important point we'll just discuss after this one verse. He says that this son of Vyasadeva was only 16 years old. His legs, hands, thighs, arms, shoulders, forehead, and other parts of the body were delicately formed. His eyes were beautifully wide, and his nose and ears are highly raised. He was very attractive face. His neck was well formed and beautiful like a conch shell. The respectable personality is described beginning with the legs, and this honored system is observed here with Sukadeva Goswami. He was only 16 years old. A person is honored for his achievements and not for the advanced days. A person can be older by experience and not by age. So Sukadeva Goswami was described herein as a son of Vyasadeva by his own knowledge, more experienced than all the sages present there, although he was only 16 years old. Now, what happened is, what is the most important thing? Okay, we'll read the one more shloka which explains the beauty of Sukadeva Goswami. He looks color of Krishna because he is meditating on Krishna. His collarbone was fleshy, his chest broad and thick, his navel deep, and his abdomen beautifully stripped. His arms were long, and curly hairs were strewn over his beautiful face. He was naked, and hue of his body reflected that of Lord Krishna. So this is what is. His bodily feature indicate him to be different from common men. All the signs described in connection with the bodily features are uncommon symptoms typical of great personalities. According to the psychonomical calculation, genomical calculation, the body's hue resemble that of Krishna, who is the supreme among the gods, demigods, and all living beings. Now, here, what is very important point? This I wanted to share one point only, but very important point. He says that when Sukadeva Goswami was coming, there were so many boys running and they were like commenting on him, and women were walking, making fun of him. He was completely naked. And as soon as he comes, all the sages, they stood up and gave honor. And Parikshit Maharaj is going to call him as Mahayogi, greatest yogi. And then even before Maharaj Parikshit spoke something, it became absolutely clear that everyone that in front of them was a person who can discover the truth. This person is a person who can speak the truth. And what grounds did they accept Sukadeva Goswami as a person who is qualified? This is very important. Now, it is one sign is that he did not react to any provocations of the outside world. Because people have painful points. If somebody learned karate or judo, they teach them that there are painful points. Like if you hit him here, he will get maximum pain. Like that, everybody has painful points. But Sukadeva Goswami didn't have any marma. Marma is painful points. Now, this is what is the painful point for all of us? Very easy, our ego. The weakest, and they call it ego. When ego gets hurt, na, it is very difficult. And the more we have ego, the more we get hurt by people's behavior, actions, words, or any other things. Why people build big houses? We have Attila in Mumbai. It is 22-story building and only 3 people stay. 3 people means house is for 3 people, 200 servants are there in it. Now, why they build a big house? Because it's just big ego. It is difficult for him to fit in one floor. The ego needs a big floors. That is called. They are called painful points. When a person gets into ego, he gets offended. Somebody steps on his foot by accident. He will become indignant. But Sukadeva Goswami, he did not resent. He did not get he did not even, it's not pretension, he didn't had any effect of anything that is happened, and that is the first thing. And second is, he was absolutely calm. And as soon as he comes, if you see next shlokas, all the sages they stood, and they said, Sukadeva Goswami, you take the main seat. Now, to not to get affected in honor is much more difficult. Not to get affected in praise is one level, but not to get affected in honor is much more difficult. And here, Sukadeva Goswami completely indifferently sat on that Vyasasana place, whatever is given to. This is the next level. We need. This is why he is so much special. He was indifferent when he was insulted, indifferent when he is glorified. All the great sages are standing and making him sit in that situation also. And then Maharaj Parikshit, he gets the privilege to speak on behalf of everyone there. That is that is another special thing. And Krishna talks about this when Arjuna asks, what is a Sthita Prajna? Sthita Prajnasya Kha Bhasha Samadhistasya Sitadirkam Prabhase Dagimasita Prajeta. So this is what is a Sthita Prajna. And another thing we were discussing, how we should hear from a saintly person. We'll just read few translation and then we will try to discuss. He was blackish and very beautiful due to his youth, because of the glamour of his body and his attractive smell. He was pleasing to women, though he tried to cover his natural glories. The great sages present there were all expert in art of Sayogami, and so they honored him by rising from the seats. This is actually what happened. Maharaj Parikshit, who also known as Vishnurat, one who is always protected by Vishnu, bowed his head to receive the chief guest, Sukadeva Goswami. At the time, all the ignorant women and boys ceased following Srila Sukadeva Goswami, receiving respect from all. Sukadeva Goswami took his exalted seat. So this is a point. He is not affected there. So these are the two qualities we are discussing. One is, you don't have any painful points. Second is, in his presence, we will actually free from sinful tendencies. On Sukadeva Goswami said at the meeting, everyone except Srila Vyasdev, Narada and few others stood up. Maharaj Parikshit, who was glad to receive a great devotee of the Lord, bowed down before him with all the limbs of his body. Sukadeva Goswami also exchanged the greetings and receptions by embracing, shaking of hands, nodding and bowing down, especially before his father and Narada Muni. Thus, he was offered the presidential seat at the meeting. When he was so received by the kings and sages, street boys and less intelligent women who followed him were struck with wonder and fear. So they retired from their frivolous activities, and everything was full of gravity and calm. This is actually what happened. So the Goswami was then surrounded by saintly sages, demigods, and kings. just as the moon is surrounded by stars, planets, and other heavenly gods. His presence was gorgeous and he was respected by all. This is also another important thing here, that the all the sages came, and when Parikshit Maharaj asked the question, you please tell me what is really benefiting. Now they did not fight among themselves. This is a Vedic culture. Now, if you take normal times, now in news channels, there is always a debate, especially in India. Everybody fights. Nobody accepts another opinion. Very unfortunate situation. But you see, respectful people, they are humble also. That's why even though they have opinion, but they are not trying to push. They say, I know the best. I know the best. No, they are discussing, and then they are all. Vishwanath Chakravarti says they are all praying that Surya Goswami should come. And here it is said that the great saintly assembly of saintly personalities, there was Vyasadev, the Brahma Rishi, Narada, the Deva Rishi, Parshurama, the great ruler of Kshatriya king, etc. Some of them were powerful incarnations of the Lord. Sukadeva Goswami was not known as a Brahma Rishi, Rajarshi, or Deva Rishi, nor was he an incarnation of Lord like Narada, Vyasa, Parshurama. And yet he excelled them in respect paid. This means that the devotee of Lord is more honored in the world than Lord himself. One should therefore never minimize the importance of devotees like Sukadeva Goswami. And he says the great sages Sukadeva Goswami sat perfectly pacified, ready to answer any questions with intelligence and without hesitation. The great devotee Maharaj Parikshit approached him, offered him respect by bowing before him, and politely inquired with sweet words and folded hands. The gesture now adopted by Maharaj Parikshit of questioning a master is quite befitting in terms of scriptural injunction. Scriptural injunction is that one should humbly approach a spiritual master to understand the transcendental science. Maharaj Parikshit was now prepared for meeting his death, and within the very short time of 7 days, he was to know the process of entering the kingdom of God. In such important cases, one is required to approach a spiritual master. There is no necessity of approaching a spiritual master unless one is in need of solving the problems of life. One who does not know how to put questions before the spiritual master has no business seeing him. And the qualification of a spiritual master perfectly manifested in the process, in the person of Sukadeva Goswami. Both the spiritual master and disciple, namely Sukadeva Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, attained perfection through the medium of Srimad Bhagavatam. Sri Sukadeva Goswami learned Srimad Bhagavatam from his father Vyasadeva, but he had no chance to recite it. Before Maharaj Parikshit, he recited Srimad Bhagavatam and answered the questions of Maharaj Parikshit unhesitatingly, and thus both the master and disciple got salvation. So here, first canto is Adhikara Tattva. What is the qualification of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam? So it is very nicely explained here how Parikshit Maharaj is approaching Sukadeva Goswami and inquiring. And here also Prabhupada is explaining this is actually befitting, quite befitting in terms of spiritual injunction, scriptural injunctions, how one should approach a spiritual master. And it is, unless somebody is very serious about it, they don't have no business to see a spiritual master. And then Parikshit says, Aho Vadyavayam Brahman Satyeva Aya Kshetra Bandhavaha Kripayati Rupena Bhavadvis Tirthaka Krita. The fortunate King Parikshit said, O Brahmana, by your mercy only you have sanctified us, making us like up to places of pilgrimage. All by your presence here are my presence here as my guest. By your mercy, we who are but unworthy royalty had become eligible to serve the devotees. So this is how he is inquiring. This is what is qualified for. Saintly devotees like Sukadeva Goswami generally do not approach worldly enjoyers, especially those in the loyal orders. Maharaj Parikshit was a Maharaj Prataprudha was a follower of Lord Chaitanya. But when he wanted to see the Lord refused to see him because he was a king. For a devotee who desired to go back to Godhead, two things are strictly prohibited. worldly enjoyers and women. Therefore, devotees of the standard of Sukadeva Goswami are never interested in seeing kings. Maharaj Parikshit was, of course, a different case. He was a great devotee, although a king, and therefore Sukadeva Goswami came to see him in that last stage of life. Maharaj Parikshit, out of his devotional immunity, felt himself an unworthy descendant of his great Kshatriya forefathers, although he was as great as his predecessors. The unworthy sons of the royal order are called Kshatrabandhus, as unworthy sons of Brahmanas are called Dvijabandhus or Brahma Bandhus. Maharaj Parikshit was greatly encouraged by the presence of Sukadeva Goswami. He felt himself sanctified by the presence of great saints, whose presence turns any place into place of pilgrimage. So we cannot imagine how grateful Parikshit Maharaj would have felt as by the presence of Sukadeva Goswami. He says, simply by your remembrance, simply by remembering your houses become uh, instantly sanctified. And what to speak of seeing you, touching you, washing your holy feet, and offering you a seat. The importance of holy place of pilgrimage is due to the presence of great saints, sages, and saints. It is said that sinful persons go to the holy places and leave their sins there to their sins there to accumulate. But the presence of the great saints disinfect the accumulated sins, and thus the holy places continue to remain sanctified by the grace of the devotees and the saints present there. If such saints appear in the homes of worldly people, certainly the accumulated sin of such worldly enjoyers become neutralized. Therefore, the holy saints actually have no self-interest with the householders. The only aim of such saints is to sanctify the house of householders, and householders therefore should feel grateful when such saints and sages appear on their door. A householder who dishonors such holy order is a great offender. It is enjoined therefore that a householder who does not bow down before a saint at once must undergo fasting for a day in order to neutralize the great offense. We'll just complete because only 5 shlokas are there. That's small, and we'll try to complete the chapter today. So please just listen. Just as atheist cannot remain in the presence of personality of God, so also invenerable sins of a man are immediately vanquished in your presence. So saying, this is the point we were discussing. There are two classes of human beings, namely the atheistic and the devotees of the Lord. The devotees of Lord, because of manifesting godly qualities, is called a demigod, whereas atheist is called a demon. The demon cannot stand the presence of Vishnu, the personality of God. Demons are always busy trying to vanquish the personality of God. But factually, as soon as the personality of God appears, by either his transcendental name, form, attributes, pastime, paraphernalia, or variegated, demon is at once vanquished. It is said, ghost cannot remain as soon as the holy name of the Lord is chanted. The great saints and devotees of the Lord are in the list of his paraphernalia, and thus, as soon as the saintly devotee is present, the ghostly sins are at once vanquished. This is the verdict of all Vedic literature. One is recommended, therefore, to associate only with saintly devotees so that the worldly demons and ghosts cannot exert their sinister influence. So this is what we are discussing. In the presence of saintly person, the tendency to commit sinful activities reduces, and then anarthas don't affect us so much. This is a sign. And I wanted to complete this chapter today so that next 3 days, 4 days, wherever we get time, I wanted to teach you all the. Means at least we will learn the shlokas. I cannot teach, but we can learn the shlokas. Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is very dear to the sons of King Pandu, has accepted me as one of those relatives just to please his great cousin brother. So now this is what he feels, that why Sukadeva Goswami came by mercy of Lord, but why Lord is showing mercy. This is what he feels, that this is because of uh, he is very dear to sons of Pandu. He accepted me as one of those just to please Arjuna and Yudhishthir, and he is accepting me also. A pure and exclusive devotee of Lord serves his family interest more dexterously than others who are attached to illusory family affairs. See, this is actually the point. A pure devotee, he is actually nicely serving. Generally, people are attached to family matters, and the whole economic impetus of human society is moving under the influence of family affection. Such deluded persons have no information that one can render better service to family by becoming devotee of Lord. They serve the interest more dexterously than others also, even those who are attached. People think coming to Krishna consciousness, they become completely irresponsible. They say nothing to do with family. Of course, I was also in that category. Now also not so much, but at least I'm little bit changing. I'm understanding that because when you join ashram, you feel yeah, now nothing to do. I'm done. And यथा तरोर्मूल निषेचनेन प्राणोपहारात् सर्व. Now I have given up everything. Now Krishna will take care. It's not like that. Prabhupada is so nicely telling such deluded person have no information that one can better serve to the family by becoming a devotee. The Lord gives special protection to the family members and the descendants of devotee, even though such members are themselves non-devotees. Maharaj Parikshit was a great devotee of Lord, but his father Prahlad was a great devotee of the Lord, but his father Hiranyakashipu was a great atheist and declared enemy of the Lord. But despite all this, Hiranyakashipu was awarded salvation due to his being the father of Maharaj Prahlad. The Lord is so kind that he gives all protection to the family members of his devotees, and thus the devotees has no need to bother about his family members, even if one leaves such family members aside to discharge devotional service. Maharaj Yudhishthir and his brothers were the sons of Kunti, the parental aunt of Lord Krishna, and Maharaj Parikshit admit the patronage of Lord Krishna because of his being the only grandson of the great Pandavas. Otherwise, without being inspired by Lord Krishna, how is it that you are voluntarily appearing here, though you are moving incognito to the common man and are not visible to us who are on the verge of death? So this is what is Parikshit Maharaj is feeling. That because of them you are appearing, because of Krishna you appeared. Krishna is merciful to me. And he says, the great sage Sukadeva Goswami was certainly inspired by Lord Krishna to appear voluntarily before Maharaj Parikshit, the great devotee of Lord, just to give him the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. One can achieve the nucleus of devotional service by the Lord by the mercy of spiritual master and the personality of God. And the spiritual master is the manifested representation of the Lord to help one achieve ultimate success. One who is not authorized by the Lord cannot become a spiritual master. Srila Sukadeva Goswami is an authorized spiritual master, and thus he was inspired by Lord to appear before Maharaj Parikshit and instruct him in the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam. One can achieve the ultimate success of going back to Godhead if he is favored by Lord sending his true representative. As soon as a true representative of the Lord is met by a devotee of the Lord, the devotee is assured a guarantee for going back to Godhead just after leaving the present body. This, however, depends on the sincerity of a devotee. The Lord is seated in the heart of all living beings, and thus he knows very well the movements of all individual persons. As soon as the Lord finds that a particular soul is very eager to go back to Godhead, the Lord at once sends his bona fide representative. Sincere devotee is thus assured of the Lord of going back from Godhead. Very nice. The conclusion is that to get the assistance and help of a bona fide spiritual master means to receive the direct help of the Lord himself. This is spiritual master is Lord's helpers. That's all. You are the spiritual master of great saints and devotees. I am therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons, especially for one who is about to die. So this is the question he is asking. I am therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons and especially for one who is about to die. Unless one is perfectly anxious to inquire about the way of perfection, there is no necessity of approaching a spiritual master. Spiritual master is not a kind of decoration for a householder. Generally, a fashionable materialistic engages a so-called spiritual master without any profit. The pseudo-spiritual master flatters the so-called disabled, and thereby both the master and his ward go to hell without a doubt. Maharaj Parikshit is the right type of disabled because he put forward questions vital to the interest of all men, particularly for the dying men. The question put forward by Maharaj Parikshit is the basic principle of the complete thesis of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now let us see how intelligently the great spirit master replies. So this is the question he asked. Show me the way of where the perfection of all, especially for one who is about to die. And he says, please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship. So, and what he should not do, explain me all this. So, what he should do and what he should not do. So, these questions are very simple. What a dying man should do, what he should not do. नूनं भगवतो ब्रह्मन् गृहेषु गृहमेदिनां न लक्ष्यते हि अवस्थानाम् अपि गो जुहनं क्वचित्. O powerful Brahmana, it is said that you hardly stay in the house of men long enough for a cow to be milked. Saints and sages in the renounced order of life go to the houses of householders at the time they milk the cows early in the morning and ask some quantity of milk for subsistence. A pound of milk fresh from the milk bag of a cow is sufficient to feed an adult with all vitamin values, and therefore saints and sages live only on milk. Even the poorest of the householder kept at least 10 cows. Each delivered 20 or 25 quarters of milk, and therefore no one hesitated to spare a few pounds of milk for a mendicant. So poorest man means he should have 10 cows. Now that is also not there. That means people are more. It is a duty of householder to maintain the saints and sages as they maintain their children. So a saint like Surya Goswami would hardly stay at the house of householder for more than 5 minutes in the morning. In other words, such saints are very rare to see in the houses of householder. Maharaj Parikshit therefore prayed to him to instruct him as soon as possible. This is actually the question of sages also. How is that Surya Goswami stayed for 7 days? He does not stay only, he stays such a short time. How could he stay for 7 days at one place? That is the curiosity there. The householders also should be intelligent enough to get some transcendental information from visiting sages. The householder should not foolishly ask a saint to deliver what is available in the market. There should be reciprocal relation between saints and householders. And the last shloka says, Sri Sudha Goswami said, the king thus spoke the questions and sage using question the sage using sweet language. Then the great and powerful personality, son of Vyasdev, who know the principles of religion, began to reply. Thus in the Bhakta in the purport of the 5th canto, 19th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Appearance of Surya Goswami. So completed in 3 volumes on February 20th, 1965, the Vyasa Puja Day. This is end of first canto. Thank you all very much. Any questions, comments? Yes, I will give the overview of first canto, and then we will go with the structural review of second canto, and then we'll start second canto. But before that, 3 days we will take, we will complete the sloka sessions. Thank you all very much for being for the first canto Prabhupada Bhaktis. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Tantra Srimad